So this is the second video in creating a chart on your rate of reaction. So you should have already done this little table of data here. If you haven't, you need to go back and watch the first video. So it's very straightforward making a chart in Google Sheets and even in Excel, and I think it's even easier in this one. A couple of ways we can do this again. The first way is just click here and go to Insert and Chart, and there we go. It knows straight away. The better way of doing it, actually, to show that you have an understanding of the data you're making the chart on, is to select the data. We're not worried about rates of reaction yet. We're just going to do time in minutes against volume of gas. So we'll go to Insert and Chart. Now your first thing to do is to choose the correct kind of chart. Now we are comparing time against the volume of gas here. So what we want to do is actually create a scatter chart. And here it is. Now, just moving this across a little bit. A good chart has axis labels. If you have given your chart, your table here, sensible titles, you don't need to worry too much about doing these axis labels. But you can see it says time M and volume of gas centimeters cubed. But if you haven't done that, we're going to have to customize it, and we are going to have to do that anyway. So let's go into customization now and have a look what we do. So the first thing we can do is customize the title. You might not want to leave it at that. You might want to say rate of reaction in such and such, and that's up to you. But you can customize some information on size and so on here if you want to. Now, legend is normally reserved for if we've got different or distinct sets of, say, data. So if we were doing time, volume of gas for two different things, but we've only got one bit of data here, so I am going to go with none. We don't need a legend for this one. But if we had two distinct sets of data that they were different colours, we would need the legend. We can play with the font and background, but I'm not going to. So let's go down here and have a look at these. So this is where we can put in our horizontal axis title, and maybe I'm going to make that a bit easier to read and say minutes. Okay, and you can see it's updated automatically. That's the horizontal axis. If I want to do the vertical one, I just switch here, and then I can alter this one. So let's go back to horizontal, and I've also got the minimum and maximum values if I want to change them a bit. So I could maybe, let's start at 2, and look what happens. Okay, so you can play around with those sections, and that's gone back to normal. Right, this is useful. So I've got my grid lines here. So let's have a look, and the lower the number, the less they are. So let's try one at 10. Okay, so we've now got the minutes laid out a bit more. But it's not easy to read these ones. So let's go back now and switch into the vertical axis. And let's do this one at 10 as well. And that's a bit better. We can even type in values in here as well. But you just be careful not to go crazy. You can see the maximum is actually 10, it looks like on this one. Okay. We can change the scale as well if we want to. I'm not going to in this case. We can change the colour of those points. Let's say red. And the size of them. This is all possibly unimportant information, and even the point shapes, but just showing you what you can do with this. Okay, once you're happy with it, I'm actually going to go down. I don't really like these. There's too many labels here, so let's put this back to, sorry, too many axis grid lines here. Let's put that back to the 5. I actually prefer it like that. So I'm happy with this now. So I'm going to leave this and press Insert, and we're going to look at the trend line in a moment in the next one. And there's our chart inserted. So what we'll look at next is how we can make this chart bigger and how we can do things like trend lines.